And
let us pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Hamilton, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hochstetler?
Present.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Corman?
Present.
Mr. Ellison?
Here.
Mr. Pratt?
Here.
Mr. Livingston?
Mr. Livingston is tell him to log on to the Zoom, and I'm just going to put him on the Zoom directly here.
On your phone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Culbertson?
Here.
Judge Covington?
Present. With that said, we will open a hearing related to a zone change request. And Elise, you're here to speak on behalf of, yeah, I'm going to read the note. So let me share that. Public hearing is going to be held here at the Scott County Fiscal Court at the courthouse on March 28th at 6 o'clock for the purpose of a zone change request for 2.2 acres from A1 agriculture to I2 heavy industrial. Planning Commission recommended denial of the request on January 11th, 2024. In order to overrule the Planning Commission's recommendation, the court would have to make a finding either that, one, the map agreement is in agreement with the comprehensive plan, or if not, two, that the existing zoning classification given to the property is inappropriate and that the proposed zoning classification is appropriate, or three, that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved which were not anticipated in the adopted comprehensive plan and which has substantially altered the basic character of such area. So that said, we are now going to open the hearing, and Elise will start. Elise, welcome and thank you for being here. And then after Elise speaks, Mr. Winstead, you and your client have an opportunity to share. I'm going to ask, after that we'll open for public comment. We'll ask for public comment to be limited to about 4 minutes. With that said, so Elise, thanks for being here.
Of course, yeah. So I'm filling in for Joe Kane, our director, on this one. This was a zoning map amendment for about 2.28 acres on the back end of the Crest Lawn Cemetery. It's presently zoned A1 agricultural, and they've requested a rezoning to I2 heavy industrial. The property is outside of our urban service area, and we have done small area studies on the area in question on what the future of it may look like. And while there is that heavy industrial use, that small area study and the future land use maps that we've since produced since that study has gone out have stated that that area should remain an agricultural type use, kind of limiting any current development to that area in the interest of kind of developing in the urban core that we already have. It was at one point, and it had an industrial zone when we applied the zoning map to the county and it was adopted. And they're just looking now to expand their operations through this rezoning of the innovative crushing facility that's operating on that I2 zone property into a portion of the rear of the Crest Lawn cemeteries. Ultimately, it was recommended against. The board found that It didn't meet the findings requirement. It didn't agree with the comprehensive plan future land use map, nor did it really align with the other sections that Joe Pat kind of briefly went over on our standards for KRS 100.213. So it was recommended against by staff, and after discussion at the Planning Commission meeting in January of '24, it was unanimously denied by the Planning Commission board members. So,
Questions? Thank you. Mr. Winstead?
Thank you, Judge. My name is Keith Winstead. I'm a land surveyor with Thoroughbred. Our client is currently operating on 5.9 acres that's currently zoned I-2, and as Elise said, needs to have a little bit more property to expand, not necessarily expand the operation, but to just give him more room for the work that he is doing. We do have an example just down the road of property that didn't comply with a comprehensive plan that was rezoned, and we're asking for that same consideration. If there's not any questions directly from me, I'd like to ask Mr. Bierman to come up and speak.
Absolutely. Mr. Hostetler?
So you're referencing a property down the road. Which property is that? So we're
I
clear.
believe, is it called the Bevins property, the Me tractor?
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Sure.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
Yes.
Just want to be clear.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Bierman.
Good evening, Judge. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to just kind of go over the same thing I did at the last meeting. I know there may have been somebody here that didn't hear it. My name's Joe Bierman. We own Merle Bierman Excavating and Innovative Crushing and Aggregate. In the late 80s, so our father started the excavating business in 1950. In the late 80s, me and my two brothers acquired it from him and have been doing it ever since, basically. But in the late 80s, we started doing some work around this area. We currently have an office in Clarksville, Indiana, and also an office in Louisville, Kentucky. When we come down here and work, it seemed like we couldn't get rid of any material like concrete and asphalt without taking it to the landfill or dumping in an unapproved area, which we didn't want to do. So we had the same issues up at Louisville, in Clarksville, with the landfills, being so expensive up there around us. There's $70 a ton to get rid of it. Innovative Crushing can take a whole load of concrete for $40. So we started Innovative Crushing in the mid-90s. We basically recycle concrete and asphalt, basically turn it into a usable material just like a quarry. Same size material, it's just made out of concrete and asphalt. Our place in Louisville in the last couple of years has been very busy due to the fact we've had two different areas that were closed up as far as places to dump. So it's been a blessing for us and a lot of even our competitors to be able to bring concrete and asphalt and have it recycled and made into a usable material. We have all kind of people bringing material to us, from plumbers, excavating contractors, demolition contractors, MSD up around Louisville. They're in our place at Louisville about every day. They'll dig a little area up to repair a water line or to repair a sewer line, and they usually bring the material to us. They're in and out of our lot quite a bit up there. By having our place, it keeps the property around the area clean. It gives people a place to dump their material and not be dumping it in unapproved areas. We also supply dumpsters for people that can't get the material to us. We'll set a dumpster out at their property, and they can fill it up, and then we'll pick it up and bring it to our yard for processing. one of the stories I always like to tell, you know, about people bringing material to us, we had a little lady pull in our Louisville yard, and she had a half a trunk full of bricks and concrete, and of course we cleaned it out for her, and she thanked us for giving her a place to have, you know, get rid of her material because it cleaned up her backyard, basically. We know we're not the most glamorous business around like a horse park or a strip mall, but I feel like we're needed around here to keep the other areas clean and give everybody a place to dump their material and to get rid of it. The 2 pieces of property that we are trying to acquire, the 2 acres, are in the back of our property. Right now, we are stockpiling material out in the front around the where we're wanting to put a building. We don't have no shop right now, and we're wanting to build a building out front, so we're wanting to move our stockpiles in the back. We're wanting to build a nice building, something that's good for the area there. We're going to have Morton Buildings put us up a shop. Anybody that knows Morton Building knows they build a nice, attractive building with nice curb appeal. In the last 10 years, we have run through our property 178,884 tons of concrete and asphalt. Last year, we had our best year. It was 43,494. The very first year, 10 years ago, we only had 400 ton. So over the years, it's grown to 43,494. And already this year, we are projected with a customer out of Louisville that's going to be doing some work down here. Supposedly, they have called us, and they are wanting to bring in 35,000 ton of material. We crush it, and they take it back out. And we're hoping, we're looking at possibly, if we have the same year we had last year, and then this customer of ours that we deal with up around the Louisville area, possibly a 75,000 ton year, which just keeps that material out of the landfill. Also, on our property right now, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 to 80,000 ton piled up, ready to be processed. So with that being said, we're just trying to, you know, we're the only ones here in town right now that do this type of work, and we just like to have the other property to expand a little bit and to give us some more room for stockpiles. We won't be doing any crushing on the 2 acres. It'll be just a stockpile type area. We will be putting a fence around it, a 10-foot tall fence for the neighbors. But that's kind of what we're looking to do. Anybody have any questions?
Questions? Any questions? Mr. Hostetler?
I think I might have been the one that was asking to have this hearing. I did not have, before you came and presented
Yes,
last
sir.
month, I did not have an opportunity to go out, but I have since. In fact,
Yes, sir.
as you know, I met with you that afternoon.
Yes, sir.
And you showed me everything you wanted to do. A couple of things. The pile that's, I know, the pile that's out there now is on the properly zoned property.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that really interested me was, and then you've added to it with these statistics, because to my knowledge, the only landfill that's around close, well, I guess there's one in Frankfurt, I think, that's still
Yes, sir.
going, but there's a CD&D landfill, I believe, in Fayette County.
I believe you're correct.
But I
yes.
think it's close. Just so happens, I've got family there that are connected to that, and they're looking to try to expand.
I got you.
So that's kind of one of the things that tweaked my interest,
Sure.
because of so another thing that happened is last summer and the summer before, I got 2 different phone calls from folks that had concrete debris. And the first question was, I know you and your brother own a lot of farms. Have you got any haulers I can dump in? I mean, so
Yes, sir.
Because they didn't know, I sent both of them, I said, hey, there's a place called ICA up on 25. I don't know if they went or not, but all I do know, the one fella did, he called me back and he said, man, that was great. I didn't have anywhere to take it. He had 2 trailer loads.
I appreciate that.
Well, I'm just trying to help a constituent, but,
Sure.
so that kind of tweaked my interest, and those numbers that you just told us, that's a lot of debris.
It is. It's surprised. I was surprised myself after we got looking at it and talking about it in the the landfill. Like I said, up at Louisville, it's a problem up there. We got to haul the material. If we're on the other side of town, I mean, there's no place to get rid of it. We got to take it to our place.
So with that said, I was out there this afternoon
Yes, sir.
on my way in from Lexington. It's a pretty good pile you got out there right now.
Yes, sir.
I can tell you got a lot of debris, a lot of tonnage sitting there that you're processing. So
Yes, sir.
would that whole pile move over to the?
No, sir. No.
I mean, what I'm trying to here's so one of the things that you had spoken to me about when I was out there last month or whenever the meeting was you showed me that property and we kind of walked the boundaries, and the back tree line between those folks is a pretty good tree line.
Yes, sir.
That kind of gives a little bit of a buffer.
Yes.
Now, on the front of that property, you can see right through the cemetery to that property. And you talked about possibly you were going to build a berm and then
Well-
put a fence on top of that.
Well, we had talked about berming up to make the fence taller.
Right.
Basically, build somewhat of a berm to raise it up, and then put the fence on top of the berm or the metal. It's going to be basically a metal fence that you can't see through. It'll hide it.
Yeah, I didn't. What I was wondering was what was I see you got a huge pile. I took some pictures. You got a huge pile out there.
Yeah.
It's as tall as the business that's right in front of you.
Correct,
Maybe
yes.
taller.
Yes.
Partly.
So-
I'm just kind of trying to get an idea what it's going to look like if we even get that far.
Sure.
But
So what we'll do, that pile, the what we call the raw material, it will stay there where it is. The material that we crush and process and make into usable stone, that's what's going to be piled on this area that we're purchasing. So it'll be more of a cleaner look, you might say. But we should have the fence around it to take care of the majority of it. But all the cleaner material will be stored back there in the back. We just don't have, we're crushing. So we crush and we fill up what we can, and then somebody will come in and buy it all up. And then we'll go back to crushing. And the people that come in while we're trying to build the piles up, they don't get any material sometimes. And we'll probably have a little bit more raw material come in. It's like this past year, we had a customer that's a steady customer, and he had, I can't tell you the amount of tonnage, but it was basically, I wanted to say it was 300 or 400 triaxle loads of concrete. And we basically had to turn him away because we didn't have the room. So I'm assuming he probably took it to the landfill. So,
So I was just trying to kind of get a picture of because you can see right through the cemetery. Now, everywhere else, and if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, this Morton building you were talking about, like how tall would it be? And isn't it going to be right out there on 25,
Yes, sir.
which would kind of block
yes.
more of what's going on that you can see now? It would block some of that.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean-
it's going to go, when you pull in the concrete drive to the right, it'll be on the right-hand side, and it's going to have a 20-foot eave height. So it'll be fairly tall.
And it's already kind of up on the bank
Yes.
right there.
Yeah.
Right there in that area.
Real quick, I've got to go, and I'll come back. I got to go to another board meeting. Like what you're doing, my main concern is taking this thing from what it is to heavy industrial. And it's not against you, but it's once we do that, it doesn't come back. And so, another company moves into your spot, or you all, I just worry about that and worry about what we do to that surrounding area with a heavy industrial move.
Well, where they're at
And-
now is already, though. It's already.
Right, but not where not where he's
Right
asking
on.
to go.
Right.
And
Correct.
And that's the whole planning and zoning that we're a part of all the time, those committee meetings, is that area trying to preserve it as much as we can. You know, the planning and zoning and the planning commission went one way. We'd have to have a, you know, and I don't believe, I know Bevins is I guess the same label, but Bevins isn't I don't see how it is labeled heavy industrial.
I don't think it is.
no, it's not.
It's not, okay.
It's a business.
So
It's-
that's
It's not
to me, that's two
industrial.
totally different things. That's light industrial versus heavy industrial type of tag. So I don't know if that's a different type of tag, you know, because of its, I don't know. But I love what you're doing. I think it's really cool and love that you're all being successful. I got to go to this meeting, but I just wanted to say before, it's not against what you're all doing. I'm just worried about 30 years from now, if we label it heavy industrial, what then, you know? So. there you
So
go.
I think the next step is there's no other questions, then we need to take public comment. Any other questions? Is anyone interested in public comment? Mr. Price, you can step up and try to limit your comments to 4 minutes.
4?
Yes, sir.
4.
Yes, sir.
All right, my name is Stephen Price. I'm born and raised here in Georgetown. I want to commend Mr. Bierman for his interest and effort in recycling. I recycle all kinds of materials, and the people who don't want it, they call it hoarding. And then they put me in jail because I object to the code enforcement coming and hauling my materials away to the landfill. So I appreciate your interest and effort in recycling. But I want to call the attention of Mr. Bierman and all the people here to the Kentucky Driver's Manual, which we all are supposed to read in order to get a driver's license. I don't drive now. I haven't driven since 1999. I'm proud that I don't drive. One of the best moves I ever made in my life was to quit driving in 1999. But before that, I drove, and I had to have a Kentucky driver's license, and I had to read that Kentucky Driver's Manual published by the Kentucky State Police. And it says, this is the advice of the Kentucky State Police: drive less. Consider walking, consider bicycling, consider taking the bus.
This is good.
And I am here to tell you that I'm running for the town council of Georgetown. And if I get elected, my whole effort will be to pedestrianize Georgetown and Scott County. That means there'll be no need for more roads. And there'll be no more need for aggregate crushed stone. Or what, I'm not sure aggregate's the word, but let's say crushed stone. Because there'll be no more road building. And I ask you, one thing I told Mr. Hofstadter, and I should have told you, and I will tell you now, Covington, at the meeting at the last couple of weeks ago at the county extension office, there was a meeting to preserve farmland. All about preserving farmland. I want to tell you, Covington, I walked to that meeting. And I told Hofstadter, I set a good example. I should have said, I didn't use my time to say that at the meeting, but I should have said to the group at that meeting, I am very proud of the fact that I walked to this meeting here tonight. And more people need to be walking and setting that example. And you said, regarding that meeting, I remember you saying, Mr. Covington, how are we going to compel, the word you used was compel, how are we going to compel the big developers like C.J. May to back off their development plans? Isn't that what you said, more or less?
No, just to make sure we're clear.
Right.
I think that
Well,
first of all, Steve, this doesn't relate to the zoning change request at all. And I will say that the comments that night were surrounded about recommendations to get other developers to consider other spots than
Yeah,
what was
well,
being
okay, and you said,
discovered.
how are we gonna compel
So-
CJ May to stop developing?
But
Well, you should say, that, but you could say the same thing how to Mr. Bierman. How are we gonna compel Mr. Bierman to stop developing? And the way you do it is to vote no on, and to confirm the denial of the Planning and Zoning Commission, which denied Mr. Bierman's application for a zone change. And Mr. Bierman, my advice to you, I brought my excavating
your
equipment.
4
Price,
minutes,
that's been 4
Ms. Price, has been 4 minutes.
4
Thank you.
minutes is
Yes,
up?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that said, are there any other public comment? Would there be any other comment from a magistrate or any questions?
I have one quick question for Elise, maybe. I guess the argument was made comparing this to the Bevins property, and I just wondered if the Planning Commission considered, this property versus that property, and if you have any comment on that.
At least at the public hearing, to wire records that I have in the minutes available to me, it wasn't really an item of discussion, but the Bevins property, I believe, is zoned for commercial uses as opposed to an industrial type
Okay.
use. And so is the meat tractor property. Those are both business, highway commercial type, which is our typical business use we see around major arterials.
Yeah, and the same principle that Dwayne was talking about applies to that property. There are multiple uses other than that business that's there.
Yes.
And that business may not be there, who knows, maybe they'll be there another 100 years or whatever, which is what Dwayne was talking about. So, anyhow, that's,
So Cam's gonna read just a summary here of, you either have to have a motion to approve or deny. If there's no motion made, then after X
Yeah,
days.
90 days.
After 90 days from the hearing, then my understanding, the ruling from the Planning Commission goes into effect.
That's correct. So, when the hearing was January the 11th.
So,
So Cam, would you walk the court through their options again?
So, if you take.
How those motions would work?
Okay, option one would be no one makes a motion tonight, and then the Planning Commission's decision to deny the requested zone change goes into effect 90 days from January the 11th. Option two, I suppose, if you wanted to affirmatively move to uphold what they did, you could do that by a majority here. And then the other option would be you can move to overrule what the Planning Commission did, and if you want to do that, that has to be done by a vote of a majority of the entire membership of the fiscal court after an evidentiary hearing, which has just been held. Should someone move to do that, and should you vote to do that, then what I believe would have to happen is an ordinance would have to be drafted and brought before the court to change the zoning. We'd have to have a first reading at, next meeting and a second reading.
And you have to have supported evidence, I believe, also in that
Correct,
motion
yes.
to override any
That
type
is
of subject.
correct, Magistrate Wallace. 100.213, which KRS 100.213, in order to amend the map, and Judge Covington read this at the beginning of the hearing, you either have to find, I'll just read this, before any map amendment is granted, Planning Commission, or I guess in this case us, or the legislative body or fiscal court, must find that the map amendment is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. So either finding that, or in the absence of such finding, that one or more of the following apply. And such findings shall be recorded in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission or the legislative body or fiscal court. A, that the existing zoning classification given to the property is inappropriate and that the proposed zoning classification is appropriate. Or B, that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved, which were not anticipated in the adopted comprehensive plan and which have substantially altered the basic character of such area. So you have to hang your hat on one of those in order to overturn what.
overturn the Planning Commission.
May I just say
10 seconds, yes, sir.
I've got this, this was on the front of the packet that Stacy Hamilton handed me, and I want to call your attention to this error. In line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's supposed to say the map amendment is in agreement with the comprehensive plan. And this, what she handed me, says the map agreement is in agreement. That's an error. And if that error was published in the News Graphic, then this meeting should be reconvened, postponed, rescheduled for another date, because that's an error that's been published, and that misleads the public awareness of what's going on here.
Steve, I'll have to agree to disagree. We've corrected, we've shared the accurate information here at the meeting. So, with that said, you all have the facts before you. What is the pleasure of the court?
Comment.
Yes, sir.
So, I like what y'all are doing out there, I really do. I think it's great that y'all are trying to recycle all this material. But I do think that area, when I was on Plan Commission, that was our goal, is to make a nice entrance into Scott County. And I think if we go ahead and approve this, that's gonna hurt that effort to try to improve that area out there. Also, we appointed a board to go over this, Plain Zoning Board. And I would feel, when I was up there, I hated it when something come up here and got overturned. So I don't wanna do that to them either. So I'm gonna vote no. And I'll make a motion
You're gonna make a motion
That we-
to uphold the.
to uphold the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So we have a motion.
Yeah. Do I talk?
Are there
wait
any other
for a
questions or
second?
comments?
Okay. Yeah, same. I am all for what y'all are doing, but reading what Cam has read, we're not deciding approval of the zoning, or we have to decide if one of these three factors has occurred. And I don't think one of these three factors I don't think the comp plan's wrong, I don't think the zoning's wrong, and I don't think there's been any major changes to the area for impact. So I'm with Rob, and I don't know that I can vote that any of these three things haven't happened. I'm not, if I was in a different vote, if I was on planning and zoning, I don't know that I wouldn't vote some other way hearing the whole comp plan, but I haven't heard all, their whole packet. I just don't think we're gonna meet any of these three things.
So just to make sure we're straight, Elise, comp plan update is currently being considered, and is there any change in the proposed comp plan update that would impact this area?
As of present date, I do not believe so. We've kind of upheld our previous plans, and our future land use map does not identify that area having anything other than it.
And from my recollection, I didn't remember any changes there either. Mr. Hostetler has a comment.
Two comments. One about what Elise is talking about. She's correct, but the comp plan is not law. And Joe Kane went through that a couple of weeks ago, actually really good. He really defined that. But it's a guiding document, and it's a guiding document that's had a lot of public input through the years, because I've been on that committee twice now. The other comment was back to the Meade Tractor, the Bevins property. I think Mr. Bevins still owns the property, but it's Meade Tractor now. So when I was not on the court, but that was just a year or two before my first term. And there was discussion when I was on the court for another property that's right there in the area. It's at one of the churches. There was another business that wanted to do a similar business as Meade Tractor. And what I can remember reading from the minutes and all of that, when we went through that on the Bevins property, the court at that time, I wasn't on it, the court at that time overruled, or not, I shouldn't use the word overruled, but they decided, because it was ag-related business, because it didn't fit the comp plan either. But the court at that time, they decided to, because they said that was a ag-related business and that would benefit the community. And so I know we haven't got a second on this motion, but I see a huge benefit for what we've talked about on this recycling. So that,
Oh, don't get me wrong, I do too. I just don't think that's the proper place now.
So,
To add 2 more acres to it, I don't know what it's gonna accomplish, in my opinion. And like Dwayne said, once we make it industrial, it's gonna stay industrial unless somebody comes back and says, hey, I wanna change it back to ag or whatever, which very rarely happens. I mean, I was on a planning zoning for 8 years. One piece of property during that 8 years come back and got back to Ag 1, and that was in the front of Mallard Point.
yeah.
That was the only property that I know of that went backwards.
at least thank you. Mr. Bierman, you raised your hand, and out of respect to you, and
Well, the 3 things that need to be changed, what, could you say again the third one, please?
Yeah, no problem. The third one is, excuse me, that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved, which were not anticipated in the adopted comprehensive plan and which have substantially altered the basic character of such area.
Well, I don't know if this is gonna pertain to that. I feel like it would, but, I know you all may or may not realize that our business of getting rid of material and hauling to a landfill, the landfills are terrible to get in and out of. They're full. We feel like that, our place is needed and we just need some more area to do what we need to do. And yeah, granted, there's not a great place anywhere for us. Because it's a dirty job. There's no 2 ways about it. But with us having our place there, it keeps all your all's nice places a place to, a way to stay nice and a place to get rid of the debris. So, and not having people dumping in ravines like Mr. Hostetler said.
So one other comment, and I'll be done.
yes, sir.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Bierman.
Thank you.
The other side of that is, he can't just pick up his existing and go anywhere with it. I mean, so that's why, that's another issue that I have is that little piece of property, not a very big one, is connected, is another reason why I would be in favor of that, but we've got a
We have a
motion on the floor.
motion. We have not had a
I have
second.
a question though, Rick. If you're gonna be in favor, which one of these 3 things though, are you gonna say is wrong? Like, that's where I can't get around, like,
I'm with you, but the economic impact, but let's go with the motion first. I mean,
We have a motion. Is there a second? There's a second from Mr. Wallace. Any other questions or comments? Let's do a roll call vote. No, we're done with public comment. We're gonna do a roll call
Do you
vote.
want to turn David on in case?
He should be on.
just to be
Tim.
clear, Rob's
David.
motion was for what?
To uphold the planning
He's
commission
Okay,
there.
good.
recommendation.
This is to uphold the planning decision. Mr. Hostetler?
no,
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Corman?
Yes.
Mr. Ellison? Mr. Pratt?
Yes.
Mr. Livingston? Judge Covington?
Yes. Yes. That said, the planning commission ruling has been upheld. Let me say this, Mr. Bierman, your all's business is valued here. Please don't leave here thinking it's not. And I'm sorry that your goal wasn't reached on expanding, but please don't leave here thinking that your business is not valued. We appreciate you coming here and understand your desire to move forward at that site, but the courts agreed with the planning commission, and we'll move forward. If we can help you in any other way, please let us know. With that said, we will close out the hearing and now move to agenda item 5, minutes from the previous meeting. Any questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
second.
Motion second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Bills and hand checks as presented. Any questions or comments? I'm sorry, I skipped transfers. Transfers. Any questions or comments?
Motion for approval, Judge.
Motion.
Second.
Second from Mr. Livingston. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Bills and hand checks. Any questions or comments?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Pratt, second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Let the record reflect that the clerk submitted fees in the amount of $119,324.13 for February. Also, let the record reflect that the clerk had a final settlement for 2023 in the amount of $12,978.90. Also, let the record reflect that Mr. Ryan Pratt completed his training unit for continuing education. And then that brings us now to number 11, Rural Secondary Program FY25, Francis McDonald and the Honorable Casey Smith. You're honorable too, Francis, but Casey's just been here before many times.
I guess before I get started, does everyone have a copy?
Everybody's got a copy.
All right, great. Well, good afternoon. My name is Francis McDonald.
I
I'm
have
here.
extra color ones if anybody needs.
Anybody have you need an extra copy, Kelly?
I'm here with KYTC District 7 to present the rural secondary program for two motions. One, to approve the 2025 RS project recommendations, and two, for the court to decide, the second motion for the court to decide the RS, the use of flex funds from the rural secondary program. The rural secondary program is a KRS state mandated program which uses 22.2% of the motor fuel revenue to maintain state rural secondary routes. Each county is allocated based on a portion of a fifth formula: 1/5 equal share, 1/5 rural road mileage, 1/5 rural population, and 2/5 rural land area. The cabinet offers a flex program which allows counties to decide whether or not to use a portion of the rural secondary funds to maintain a recommended rural secondary route, or to allocate to maintain a county route. The flex fund amount is determined by the state maintenance rating of rural secondary routes, and at the top of your handout you'll see the 20% indicates that Scott County got a B, at which then that 20% translates to $200,458. Under that you'll see the $335,557, which is used strictly for the RS recommended routes. Now, going over fiscal year 2023 and 2024, those projects have been authorized but have not yet been completed. We're currently working on Lemons Mill Road, and I guess the rest will be following suit. For fiscal year 2025, we recommend, for the RS recommended projects, we recommend Burton Pike by the Kentucky 1143 new bypass to just south of West Wrights Lane, and a portion of Ironworks Pike from Swords Road to Mount Point 7.29. For the RS Flex recommendations, we're saying continuing from the mile point 7.29 to US 460. You will note that the flex amount, the estimate for flex amount, is more than the amount allocated. That's because a lot of these, this initial allocation are currently projections, and so it would you'd go over balance, and then next year it would be taken out. If you refer to the back of the handout, you will see where the RS recommendations are in orange, the flex recommendations in green, and the blue is all the routes that have been authorized for maintenance over the past 10 years through the rural secondary program.
So you can see, one of the things that I draw your attention to is, look at Ironworks Pike. Ironworks Pike is nearing, like significant amounts of it being resurfaced, which is a very positive thing. And JR, I would ask JR, to step out here. He's in there pushing buttons for us, and JR does it all for us. But like, he's IT tonight.
That's why I have the glasses on.
But JR and I have talked about this at length. His recommendation, my recommendation to this court, is to designate and recommend that flex funds to go towards that recommended project as recommended there for Ironworks Pike.
Absolutely.
And JR knows it's in bad shape. It's kind of caving in certain places, and it needs to be fixed.
But
It sure does.
I think we worked with the cabinet and KYTC District 7 very closely, and I think that those funds, when we put those on those recommended flex fund projects, I think we realized savings back to the county in other ways, and I really think that meets the need of the most people right now and the most needed projects. And I'm glad that the asphalt plant's up and running and getting fine-tuned, and Lemons Mill's getting started. Seems like we're getting started maybe a little earlier than in the past. Yeah. So any other comments, Francis or JR? Any questions from the court?
You want to talk about those motions again that we
need 2 motions.
Orange diamond and a green diamond.
Yeah.
So approve the recommended RS projects FY25 as shared, Burton Pike and Ironworks Pike. Would there be a motion, Mr. Jones, a second by Mr. Hostetler? Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. The second would be to approve the recommended RS projects for flex funds for Ironworks Pike as shared. Motion for Mr. Wallace, second for Mr. Corman. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We appreciate the partnership with KYTC and appreciate what you all do, and thank you all very much.
Now, Judge, you're not going to let them. Casey and I have to ask him about all these roads and get an update. You're not going to let him off the hook, are you?
With the hour being late, I'll limit you to 4 minutes, Mr. Wallace.
You're too kind, Judge.
All right, you ready, Casey?
Here we go.
What do you got?
All right, so look, folks, this is stuff I get complaints about. It's not stuff I make up. So about 10 years ago, the state put shoulders on 460 West from the bypass all the way to Frankfurt Road. Over time, that is starting to kind of pull away, and there's a little gap area on 460 West. Now, I know last year I asked about that, and I think they repaved 25 north all the way to Grant County.
Yes,
line.
they did.
Yeah.
Those folks needed it.
Yes.
And we appreciate it.
Yeah. And so have you all looked at that as far as in terms of repaving from the bypass all the way to the Franklin County line?
Yeah, so with US 460, that is on what we call our FDO5 system. That is just our statewide resurfacing program. And what it is, it is a data-driven process in the selection of which roadways are actually resurfaced, and it's based on roadway condition, roadway scoring, as well as how much traffic is actually traveling on that roadway. When it makes that list for resurfacing, a lot of times they'll go ahead and address that shoulders and the drop-offs at the same time, just because the contractor is already out there. However, if there are some severe instances where the shoulder is dropping off, we can actually utilize some other funding sources in order to address some of those really dangerous drop-offs. So we had some highway safety improvement project considerations along US 460. In fact, some areas where we actually installed a high friction surface along that corridor, that was a result from the highway safety improvement program. So there are a few other sources that we could tap into in order to address those shoulder runoffs.
And one such instance is that area in that curve that we've talked about between Homestead and Longview, that it's
Longview
scheduled to get that
Golf
high
Course.
friction surface reapplied, correct?
Right.
This summer, I believe.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, Lyle Road. I know that is a deal with the contractor who put in the sewer lines, and that might be outside of your purview because I think that's a deal with the contractor for the city, not the state. Am I correct in saying that?
I would have to verify
From the
that with
railroad to
Austin.
Fayette County.
My understanding, though, from conversations, that section of that road is scheduled to be corrected and repaved.
Okay,
That's
summer.
And I'll confirm that
Yeah.
with the city.
Okay.
But that was that project, well, probably need to do it with GMWSS, but my understanding that road is scheduled to be
That's what I said.
Yeah.
That's what I've been told, but I didn't know where your all's deal is. Now, I will say, if you're going out the end of the line, you go Lemons Mill and you go across the interstate bridge, there was discussion that was going to be repaved, I think, going out toward Crumball. And then I believe that job was pulled right at the end of November.
They started it yesterday.
Oh, they did start it? Okay.
Yes, they started it yesterday.
So they're repaving from...
Repaving from all the way Newtown Pike.
Oh, so going to Newtown Pike?
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
To the interstate bridge?
That's my understanding.
Okay. That's excellent. All right, what about...
And will that just be repaved, or is there any widening? Because I know they dug out and put some rock, but I didn't know how much.
Yeah, I mean, but they try to address some of that during a resurfacing. They, if there is a situation where the pavement edges have actually crumbled inward, they would try to rebuild that so it's consistent all the way through. Now, it won't be a significant widening, like 2 feet of widening to the pavement, but no, it will mimic what was already
I'm sure
out there.
you're aware that some of those drop-offs are pretty severe.
Right.
So you may know more about this, Judge, than Casey. Paynes Depot to at Leestown Road, the realignment to Weisenberger's Mill. I believe we're trying to get that in the budget.
That was an effort that was being made, and it was going to be, Casey, help me with the term, the type of roundabout.
Yeah, so we actually did evaluate that through the Highway Safety Improvement Program, and they came up with a bunch of different alternatives. The cabinet favored a asymmetrical type roundabout, more commonly thought of or known of as the peanut roundabout. What that would do is it would actually create, it would not realign the roadways together. However, it will be all controlled within one single roundabout. With that, we have noticed on other installations of roundabouts that it does tend to slow down traffic as they progress through that intersection, which is really needed when you have those offset intersections in such close proximity. Now, this is something that was being considered. Senator Thayer actually has reached out to the cabinet. We have developed estimates for him for budgeting into the highway plan. I pulled up the Senate modification of the highway plan. I did see it listed in there within the biennium. Now, I haven't been briefed.
On this new proposed.
Correct, yes. And so I haven't been briefed on what the enacted plan is. Of course, we do have to get through the veto session, which I believe goes through next week. The general session is already complete, but he still has to go through a veto session before I'll be briefed on all that. So.
And that would alleviate that issue with Weisenberger's Mill Road. And I think the roundabout would not make it awkward in that. I think it probably would work there instead of moving the road over. I think what you're all saying.
Another issue that we found is that left turn movements tend to stagger right there in between those two intersections. This roundabout would alleviate that and create a better operation as well as slow down traffic through that area.
Okay.
And that being the biggest safety issue.
Correct, yes. That would bring about the biggest safety concern.
Would you say Cam 4 minutes is up?
Oh, this is good for everybody to know.
I'm teasing you.
Okay, so the railroad at Lemons Mill Road, which is probably what we call Clayton Avenue, but they're going to redo that bridge. I got a call. Actually, got a call on that today. Do you know when they're going to close that down and start doing work on that?
They're actually still working with the railroad company on that, because we do have heavy coordination with I think it's Norfolk Southern that crosses.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, we are well. Okay, so Ossing has given me an update on that. We are hopeful that we will get a response with that within a week or two.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
But there is a detour. I believe it's already signed. Actually, the detour is already signed. Yeah. So we'll have that signed and then hopefully completed before Georgetown College opens up for.
Last thing, and that's it. Well, maybe I'm not going to swear to it, but the Midway Road. So the county, we traded roads, and you all took over Midway Road, and we took some of your spur roads. The signage that makes that a state road off of Ironworks is still not put up. So I don't even know the number, what it is. But
1968?
341, Kentucky 340. It's 341 in Woodford County. I believe it would just extend that same number.
Yeah, you just need to put signage up so they know it's 341.
Yeah.
That's all.
I know that has been on the do list. There's also talks about the striping on Midway Road as well. So, but I could follow up with our traffic section on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Hostetler.
Well, going back to the bridges, I know there's two in northern Scott County. One on Fields Lane is probably never going to be redone, but the most recent one is on.
We have campaigned heavily.
Hinton Road, I believe.
We've campaigned heavily to get it moved from the 29 to the 26.
I got a call from a church that's up there over the weekend. That's their members are driving all over the place trying to get there. So, and others have called as well.
And just looking at priorities and looking at that was what was shared, what might be the best route to get it moved from 29 to 26. It's like a multi-million-dollar project.
Yeah, it would be, and it is a project, and it was on the highway plan. We did see it, however, it was in the out years in the recommended plan. So, yes, as Judge Covington has been saying, we have been campaigning to bring it forward within the biennium. If we could get the construction funds within 2026, that money should be available for us to begin design and construction. Now, this is going to be one of the projects.
Sooner than 26.
It could be sooner than 26 because we budgeted for the 2-year period. Yes. Now this will be a project that will be done within the Bridge of Kentucky program. So it's been one that came up on the radar, especially since it was just closed recently. So it has brought it up onto their radar for evaluation on how they're going to do the removal and replacement of that bridge structure.
So how does that work? I mean, just out of the blue, you get an email and the bridge is closed. I mean,
yeah, so we
so
do have
a process there.
There is, yeah. So that bridge is part of the National Bridge Inventory, and by federal regulation, we do inspect every one of those public structures on a 2-year basis. It's by a 2-year basis, 1-year basis, or a 6-month basis, depending on the condition of that bridge. Now, that bridge has been structurally deficient for quite some time. You'll notice some of the load ratings. Once a load rating gets down to about 3 tons, that's really our last hope of keeping that bridge open. So that goes on a 6-month inspection cycle. Once they notice further deterioration, that's when it's determined that it has to be closed, and that's when you receive that letter from us on shutting the bridge down.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Anything else? Mr. Pratt.
I just have one. If that's okay, Joe.
Yeah.
I just got one. I don't know if you all could do or look at it. I know Judge Covington, he and I both talked about this, but the area of 460 between Payne's Depot and the bypass, and I think Chad talked about it earlier a little bit, but we've now connected Payne's Landing to Ward Hall Estates. There's no turn lane, and we're just seeing more traffic as Canewood expands and the new high school's going out there, and I mean it's going to get real bad. So I mean, it's bad already, it's getting worse, it needs to be widened, and there's no
We've
turn lane right there.
and I think that's what we've been looking at. We've been hearing the traffic and with the subdivision coming in, the schools coming in also. By the bypass, possibly some turn lanes may be appropriate along that section of US 460. It is definitely something that's on our radar.
Yeah, that whole area needs some. It's just getting busier and busier, and that road's really narrow. So
Correct. Yeah.
And the speed, people tend to, like, once they pass Payne's Depot, it's like, let's see if we can drop her down and pin her ears back. And the turning lanes would be
the lack
helpful.
of turning lanes where they connect the two subdivisions is beyond me.
I would really like. I question why we opened it anyway, and then I question why we opened it without turning lanes. That's like, who authorized that to be open?
So that is that goes through our permit section actually, and depending on the size or how much traffic that could potentially be added into our system, that's when they'll start asking for a traffic impact study, a TIS, and when they evaluate that. Is at that point when the cabinet makes recommendations or even forces the developer to put in a turn lane, whether it be a right turn lane or a left turn lane, that they could build on our roadway just to mitigate the effects of the additional traffic at that intersection.
Could we formally request that? Like traffic, could we formally request to the KYTC that a traffic study be done right there?
If it's past the permits, it is.
So it's already been done?
Yeah, it's already,
Okay.
right, yeah. So
I
that's something that should have been.
P&Z, and then I talked to Kelly Baker at the state, and it was kind of, the state said whatever P&Z said, and P&Z said whatever the state said, and they were both kind of just,
Who's
whatever
on
you say.
Who's on first?
Yeah. It was just,
Right.
So if we could reevaluate it, especially now, it's
Sure,
only going to get
yeah.
worse once the new high school is open.
Right.
Because it's going to be closer over there. The Great Crossings has already increased traffic. The city's expanding out that way, so.
And we've had, talking about the school, we've had conversations with Senator Thayer. I think he was interested in putting in turn lanes on US 460 for the school. The schools are limited to what they could build. Once it gets outside the property, they have no ability to pay for items like turning lines. So that is one thing that I believe the senator is hoping to get into the budget of providing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least the high school already has 2 traffic lights, and 3 if they go out the other way. But these subdivisions don't have anything, so.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones.
I just got one. It drives me crazy every time I have to go over it. But right here at the bottom of the hill, where they tore up the road and where they tore up the road and put the water lines in it a year or so ago, and now it's bumpy crazy. I don't know if that's on a repair
460
schedule.
So right down here at the bottom of Main Street, 460.
Oh, yeah, man.
Where the beautification project was done along.
Yeah, we had a TAP
the
project
viaduct,
down there.
TAP
yeah.
grant.
Mm-hmm.
The patch in the paving is substandard, and it's. I wish we could look at
Getting the
getting
contractor
that
back to repair it, I mean,
Yeah,
make
getting
it the way it's supposed to be. It's a shame we had a brand new pavement done.
Yeah.
And they come
Yeah.
behind you and cut it up, and then they just
Is there an evaluation after a job is done?
Correct, yeah. There is, because technically the contractor really owns that area until we actually formally accept it. And they want us to formally accept it, otherwise it's theirs forever. So we would have a punch list of items that they would have to take care of.
Can you check?
I'll have to check to see.
Can you check
where
that punch
one's
list?
at.
I'd love to see that get fixed this summer.
Mr. Hostetler. Chad, you opened up the whole can of worms.
Well,
I'm
they
teasing.
only come once a year, so they come twice a
We
year.
can invite him back. You can buy him dinner.
Lusby Path, just, I guess, west of US 25 and the bypass, Lusby Path. We talked about here, I don't know if it's ever made it to the state, about that being a right in, right out. Because we had a pedestrian fatality in that area. And then we've had, I'm pretty sure, multiple accidents.
So that accident was discussed at our meeting. We talked about, adding light, like an overhead light to illuminate
Illuminate,
the area. But, you know, you tell me, Casey, is there any, what is the path to make that right in, right out only?
Similar to what's in front of Walmart.
Instead of being able to turn left out of that, it would force everybody down to the light that's
It
right
would,
down there.
Yeah.
If the city and the county jointly sent a letter to KYTC
for consideration
requesting,
of that,
so,
yeah.
so along those same lines, Rick, I've talked to the mayor about consideration on 460 at the Rural King
Yeah. I was
past
gonna bring that
Arby's.
up too.
That should only be right in, right out. And then we've also talked about out on Connector next to the coffee shop, Starbucks, that opening. But the issue there is that design is, and that renovation's well on the way. And
Yeah, and that final design should help with
that final design
issue,
will
so,
help. And
yeah.
it wouldn't merit doing. But what we're talking about on that other, we can certainly add to the discussion with the mayor about making Leslie Path right in, right out only.
That has to go through the state, right?
We would have to make a letter request,
Right.
and then what we would do is offer to maybe pay for part of the delineators that.
We could do that. Yeah, there may be some solutions that we could do through traffic, but with those delineators, putting that on the center of the road. Because sometimes when you put in what we call like a pork chop, where it kind of directs traffic, sometimes we still see people making almost like a U-turn to make that left turn moving into like an entrance, for instance, like at Rural King. But we have found and have installed delineators that goes right down the double yellow line to prevent those movements from happening. That
But
could
we would
be
need
a
to offer
solution.
to pay for part of it, and I've talked to the mayor about this, and I think it's something that we could try to move forward with as well. Last thing, we appreciate you. Anything else?
Yeah, we got one more thing, Judge. We've talked about it. In case this is important, I'm glad Elise and Red are here too. So the certificate of need application by Baptist Health, I believe, over there about where Southland is on the bypass.
And
Yeah.
let me comment on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Same discussion we had. What could be proposed is a J turn, similar to what is.
Yeah, down Bradford Place.
Yes, and those have been pretty successful, and we've discussed that with KYTC too.
Okay.
If that came in,
Okay.
that would be a very good solution.
Okay, that's good. But I just want to get ahead of
No,
that.
Has it been approved, the certificate of need, or
no,
Okay.
not yet. Casey, thank you, and Francis.
Hey, thank you,
As
Judge, and thank
always.
you, members of the court.
Thanks, Casey.
All right,
Yeah,
next.
I want to thank Chad for
You had another thing.
dragging that out for 40 minutes so I could actually arrive.
So let the record reflect Mr. Livingston is not virtual. Thank you all.
I felt guilty going home and staying virtual, so I got back in town and just drove to the courthouse.
Number 12, we are going to table until we get just a little bit more information. But from the picture that was shared, that I shared with you all, that was what was presented as the road bed. And it does touch that property, but just out of an abundance of caution, we're going to see if we can get a little bit more information.
Can we say we're skipping it?
We're skipping it. Yes, we're skipping number
So,
12.
one of the pieces of information for that is that, I forget the name of the family, I guess it would be the property on the north end. Trying to picture it in my, I drove up there this week. Is it Taylor? Is that?
Can't remember, Rick, I'm sorry.
It's the Polk family.
The
that's-
Polk family's making the request.
They're kind of landlocked, but they have an easement through these other folks' property, which still goes over this Old County road bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just further down the line. But
Just further down the line.
if you come north, where their property comes closer, and where the Taylor, that's where that Old County road, way I could
The
see
old
it.
South Dividing Ridge, and JR and I've talked, and we've been down there, it ran from that point all the way across. JR, which road did you say it went to? Yeah, David's turkey pie.
Right, so, I mean, my point is, and maybe, I talked to Mr. Williams about it, because he's their attorney. That northern property there, that information there, I think would help us, because I think that's the end of that Old County Road. That's
Yeah.
where they,
We can ask that Mr. Williams attend, or invite him to attend the next meeting. I don't think he was available today.
sure, that'd be great.
We'll do that. We're skipping number 12. 13, ordinance 2401, second reading budget amendment. Mr. Culbertson, do you have the documentation to
Yes,
read?
somewhere. All right. Ordinance 2401, Scott County Fiscal Court Amendment. An ordinance relating to the annual budget and amendment thereof. Whereas Scott County, Kentucky has realized unbudgeted receipts, be it ordained by Scott County of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1, current fiscal year 2023-2024. The budget for the current fiscal year is amended to increase/decrease the receipts from the following funds to include unbudgeted receipts from A, revenues, Fund General, account 014504, Federal Grants AFG, amount $178,194.54. General Fund, account 014504, Federal Grants JAG, amount $55,600. Capital Improvement Fund, account 974504, Federal Grants TAP, amount $215,000. General Fund, account 014510, State Grants KY0AAC DARE, amount $92,354.13. Jail Fund, account 034510, State Grants HB1 Video, amount $35,927. So total amended revenues are $577,075.67. B, appropriations. General Fund, account 01-5015-717, County Sheriff Law Enforcement Equipment, amount $55,600. General Fund, account 01-5015-103-1, County Sheriff Deputy Salaries, DARE, $69,326.40. General Fund, account 01-5015-44501, County Sheriff Office Supplies, DARE, $23,027.73. Jail Fund, account 035101-703, Jail Communication Equipment, $35,927. General Fund, account 015120-548, Fire Special Projects Exhaust System, that's $178,194.54. And capital improvements, account 97-8001-71801, Capital Improvement Lyle Road TAP, is $215,000. So total amended expenditures are $577,075.67. Section 2, the amounts adjusting the receipt and expenditure accounts in Section 1 are for governmental purposes. The first reading was March 8th, 2024, and the second reading today, the 28th day of March, 2024.
Any questions or comments? Motion. Second by Mr. Pratt. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That leads us to 2402, first reading occupational license tax. And this really stems from, we're aligning the ordinance with the City of Georgetown's ordinance, just to make sure that we have all of them essentially identical.
That's right.
So, Mr. Culbertson, will you read the summary?
Yes. All right. Scott County Fiscal Court Ordinance Number 2024-02. An ordinance amending Ordinance 04-05 regarding occupational license taxes. Summary. 1. Requires a current business license or copy thereof to be prominently displayed at each place of business or to be available and produced upon request if no physical business location exists. 2. Establishes business registration requirements, including the posting of a $275 cash bond with the county for general contractors as defined in the ordinance. 3, establishes business registration requirements, including the posting of a $275 cash bond with the county for any person or business entity conducting activity in the county that does not meet the definition of a transient business and who does not own or lease a physical business location within the county for a period of over 6 uninterrupted months. 4, provides for the electronic submittal of an annual reconciliation documentation by employers with greater than or equal to 100 employees to the Georgetown Scott County Revenue Commission, and further authorizes the commission to prescribe/require the returns, form, or reports to be filed and to define the way each is to be filed. 5, exempts the federal government from the requirement to withhold, report, and pay the occupational license tax, and to further establish withholding requirements for all such federal government employees. 6, allows for the cancellation, termination, or suspension of a contract with a contractor or vendor determined by the Georgetown Scott County Revenue Commission to be non-compliant with the county ordinances and requirements. 7, allows for the suspension or revocation of a business license and to further establish notice requirements in the event of suspension or revocation. 8, provides for repeal of inconsistent ordinances, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication according to law. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the office of the Scott County Fiscal Court, 101 East Main Street, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324, introduced and publicly read for the first time today, March the 28th, 2024.
Questions or comments?
Well, on item 6 that you read, Cam,
Yes, sir.
and I've read through this whole document you sent us, and I probably overlooked it, but if the Revenue Commission determines that there's an issue and they're gonna cancel them, is that appealable by the
I believe there's an
company, I
appeal
get?
procedure, but I'd have to go review the rest of that ordinance, 0405. I can answer that question before next time.
Well, maybe it's in there. Like I say, I read through this thing and I didn't see where it was, but I mean, I think there should be if the commission makes a decision. They're in item 6 that you read.
Yes.
Line item 6, that they decide that they're non-compliant. Maybe I know that also I've seen where there's some time in there given to the company that's might be have an issue, that they got time to correct that. I know that's stated in there as well, but I just want to make sure that they got an opportunity to appeal.
Okay.
I think that it could be in there. I could have overlooked it, but
Well, and this only, I'll look again. This only, like,
Just highlighting the changes?
Yeah, just highlights the changes. And there's a
Gotcha.
big ordinance that may have that provision in
Okay.
there, but I will look. And
well, if that provision's in there, I'll make a motion.
Judge, on the email, it says we read the first time on March the 8th.
Yeah.
We're not going
No.
to have nothing come up about that, are we?
No, because the updated copy has today's date.
Yeah, he just read today.
that was the initial plan and got passed till today.
I'll second Rick's
All
motion.
right, so we have a motion, we have a second.
And the motion is Cam confirms that there's an appeal process.
In we're approving this proposed first reading.
Right.
We'll come back, but in between now and then.
Sure.
We'll confirm that.
Absolutely.
So we have
Yeah.
yeah. We have a motion and we have a second. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll come back with a second reading and clarification on that. If there's not an appeals process, then we'll get it added. Detention Center budget draft was submitted by Jailer Broyles. Let the record reflect that. We will be working steadily here in April, here at the end of March and in April on budget work. Next, number 16, Lytle's Fork Recreation Area Advisory Committee appointment. We had a gentleman that stepped away from the board appointment, and I shared with you all as well as Master Kelly Corman shared a recommendation for replacement to serve that unexpired term. And is there any questions or comments? I shared the name of Mr. Crabtree that Mr. Corman shared, and then I shared two other gentlemen that had made application and expressed interest, and I shared that with you all via email. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, sir.
My suggestion for Mr. Crabtree is he's a neighbor of mine, but he's also been real involved down there for probably the last, 10 or 15 years. He's went down there and personally helped clear the trails and worked with parking and just different things. And so I think he'd really make a good member on that. He's got a lot of interest.
It sounds like a motion to me.
So I will follow it up with a motion for Mr. Crabtree.
Second. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Board of Adjustment reappointment. Recommendation is to reappoint Janet Holland. Any questions or comments? Her term
Is there
will
no
run.
term limits on those?
That's her second.
This will be her second.
This will be her
It
second.
is,
But
we're retroactive.
we're ratifying, and she's going back to,
We did not change her date. It
We
will
didn't
still
change
be
her date.
7/27.
her term will end 7/27. 7/31/27.
How many years has she already served?
For my
Four, I
understanding,
think. Is it a 4-year term? This
Yeah.
is, I confirmed in the minutes, this is her second term. It should have been done in July, and we just
it
missed
just
it.
It seems
slipped
like
through.
seems like to me I've been around her for so long, with planning,
she's on
zoning and
committee,
stuff,
yeah.
where she was on planning, zoning with me, but
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Make a
to-
motion, second for Mr. Hostetler. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And then, next item is Resolution 2408, Sheriff's Grant.
Good
Hey,
evening, Judge.
how are you,
Court.
sir?
How are you all doing?
Glad to have you.
I'm here, we're going to attempt to file for the State Homeland Security Grant once again. The goal of this time is to go ahead and get security cameras and access control points paid for through the grant for the new Sheriff's Office and Clerk's Office. There will be 29 access control points along with 45 or 46 cameras, as tentatively discussed so far. The cost of this system, which would be through Verkada as of right now, which I think is what's shared with the rest of Scott County court system here, is $329,967.60, and it's broken up into the following amounts: $112,000 for labor and installation, $200,795.60 for materials, and then $17,172 for licensing. And so we're hoping that we can apply for this grant and get the funding to pay for that.
My question, I greatly appreciate the effort to do this because it would be a significant savings to our project, period, if we can be awarded. What is the turnaround time on this?
Usually you would know by October, so it's going to be right close to that time. I just don't know what the exact time our building's going to be finished.
So Mr. Lusk and I have talked, along with Chip as well, about the need. We have to put out a bid for the cameras installation in the access control installation. That's just how it's done. We have to put out a separate bid. And we've talked about doing this not only for the sheriff's office, clerk's annex, but also for the EMS station. Chris, I don't know if y'all sat down and said, here, we need cameras here, here, and here.
We had not, but we have an idea, and Chip had emailed me earlier.
If we could get with Chip, because what I'd like to do is just put those out at the same time, separately, but put them out. But we need to, that's something that we're working on. But if, and here's the reality as well. Our project at the sheriff's office, they're still saying it's 5 weeks behind. And their hope still is that they can catch up, but this thing's going to be pushed. And I'll be honest with you, I'll wait for $350,000. We'll wait another month, but or navigate what we have to. But I just want everybody, like,
The bid process won't take long.
the bid process won't take long, but we need to take into account the timeline of the grant. And I just wanted to lay all that out for you all.
Does this take money off of what it's costing us to build it now?
So-
So this is already included in what we've approved?
This was included in an estimate for FF&E, and we intentionally intended to budget that in next year's budget. So this would this would be a tremendous savings.
Officer Betson, $17,000 for licensing, like, is that
So
licensing?
here's how it works.
Yeah.
I believe you're asking for a 5-year license.
I believe that's what it is. Ricky has been the one
Yeah,
dealing with
it's
all
a
that. He's
5-year
given me the
license, just like
quotes.
what we have here.
For the software kind of?
They have no servers.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's a license that allows us to access the cloud.
I think it's 5 years.
I believe so. I'm trying to look at it right here.
It's fine, it was
Yeah,
different than the way we normally.
That these don't operate off servers. Now, here's the rest of the story, and I'd like to ask this question. Ricky, doing his due diligence with Chip, have talked to another vendor other than Verkada. They've talked to Verkada, but they've also talked to another vendor. And if the bid comes back that we would, rather work with another vendor, could we still use another vendor other than Verkada?
I believe so. I think we might have to narrow the resolution to be a little
You'll
more
have to
broad
strike it.
than as specific.
When Cam reads it, we could have him straight.
So just make it more general.
Yes.
Purchase,
Got it.
access control.
Because I think they've
Don't name Verkada.
They've spoken with Bates, I believe, but there hasn't been
Yeah,
a actual quote
Will they
provided yet.
take the grant like that though? Like with or does the grant?
It just requires a resolution from the county signed by the judge executive. It doesn't state that it has to be overly
Okay.
broad or narrow in any which.
Just for a point of information, we need a, security camera system update at our office, so we had a Teams meeting on a couple days ago with Bates Security, and they actually have a little proposal they gave us right here, and Chip was sitting in on that, and then following that meeting, he listened to what they were proposing doing at our office, and he sort of thought, hey, that sounds good, and he was gonna talk to Ricky, anyway, just to explore the
But
possibility.
I feel like
No, they've met with Ricky. Bates has.
Bates
Yes.
has already met with Ricky.
Got it.
I do feel like our folks are doing their due diligence,
Right.
trying to get all the information. So I would say strike Verkada out of that.
Yeah.
And that way it leaves it open.
Yeah.
So how many cameras did you say?
Let me get back to that point. 45 or 46 cameras with 29 access control points is what they've identified now through. They've
Just-
sat down, I believe, several times over this.
Just at the new sheriff / county clerks?
Yes.
Wow.
Now, there will be some interior, some exterior, I believe covering most of the building in different angles.
Sounds like it.
Would that also include it into the
We gotta
entrance
read it.
in?
Yes, I believe there'll be some on the exterior, on the entrance in. Ricky has a map. It's very,
He put some pan tilt zooms on the perimeter too.
I don't know if I can pass these around. You guys are more than welcome to take a look at them. These are the only copies I have.
While y'all are looking at that, can we have Cam go ahead and read it?
Yeah.
I believe
But they won't be focused on
maybe the access
How does
control
the
and
bid
grading
process with the
cameras.
grant work? Like, I don't understand how the bid process with.
Well,
the
that's
grant
why we're
works.
taking Verkada out of this. Like,
They wouldn't pay us back until after we paid it.
yeah,
What did he say? Yeah,
We
great.
would bid
this is
it
a
out,
reimbursement.
And then they would reimburse us.
So if we came to,
Yeah. You got,
So you want me to say up to?
yeah.
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying,
No, this is right, but David was
Got
telling
it.
him.
I guess that these are interview rooms, so they got it.
Dang.
All right. Scott County Fiscal Court Resolution Number 24-08, a resolution of the Scott County Fiscal Court, Scott County, authorizing the judge executive to apply for State Homeland Security Grant Program, or SHSGP, funds administered through the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security, or KOHS, and upon arrival to enter into an agreement with KOHS to execute any documents which are deemed necessary by KOHS to facilitate and administer the project and to act as the authorized correspondent for this project. Whereas the SHSGP assists states to build, sustain, and deliver capabilities necessary to prevent, prepare for, protect against, and respond to acts of terrorism by funding projects which demonstrate a terroristic preparedness nexus, address threats and hazards identified in the state's threat and hazards identification and risk assessments, and the corresponding national core capabilities, and fall under an identified national priority area or enduring security need. And whereas national priority areas include enhancing protection of soft targets / crowded places, enhancing community preparedness and resilience, and enhancing election security. And whereas Scott County desires to apply for SHSGP funds in the amount of $329,967.60 to be used to purchase access control, intrusion, and video security systems for the new Scott County Sheriff's Office building currently under construction in the area of 109 Betsy Way, Georgetown, Kentucky 40324. And whereas it is recognized that an application for and approval of SHSGP funds imposes certain obligations and responsibilities upon Scott County, now therefore be it resolved this 28th day of March 2024 by the Scott County Fiscal Court, the Judge Executive is hereby authorized to execute and furnish all required documentation, including a memorandum of agreement, as may be required by KOHS for the furtherance of the above referenced project, and to act as the authorized correspondent for said project, done this 28th day of March 2024.
So there's no,
vendor specific.
gotcha. And also there's no county input that's,
There's no match.
right. Motion.
Motion, second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. When does this have to be submitted?
They actually extended it the other day to April 22nd.
So can we get that, Stacy, make the correction?
I can pick it up next
And then I'll
week.
sign it, and then we'll submit it.
Sounds good.
Thank you so
Thank you
much
all.
for your efforts, and we really appreciate you. You're the grant man at the Sheriff's Office. And
I try.
We appreciate that very much. Now, moving on down, EMS new hire.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Just on behalf of Chris Running, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Aaron Flanner as a paramedic. That'll be effective April the 15th. His starting pay will be $17.03 per hour. He's real close to having his bachelor's degree in paramedicine administration, and he has a little more than 5 years of related experience. We're glad to add a new paramedic to our team down there.
Questions, comments?
Motion.
Motion?
Second.
Second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Where's that put us on our staffing?
One short.
One short. All right. We're gonna skip fire department. We're gonna skip fire department today, and then
Sounds like they're busy.
Mike is here with us, and this is pretty good news, I think. Would you like to share the specifics about the EMA storm shelter bid?
Yeah.
I'm excited about this.
Me too. Let me start off by saying I apologize. I left my packet on the desk. It came in. Have got a pretty good
Probably
idea.
know it by heart.
Been talking back and forth, but put the project out to bid. After talking with 4 or 5 different companies that provide this structure, we only had one bid package at the time of opening. So I reviewed the bid submittal. All of the specs are up to speed. It's FEMA qualified, basically, it's everything we asked for, but it's about $25,000 less than we expected to spend. The company that I've been working with over the last year and a half or so gave me a verbal estimate of $160,000. Safety shelter that submitted the formal bid came in at $139,450. So we're happy to be significantly under the expected budget. Been kind of working back and forth with Dustin at Safety Shelter, making sure that we're going to be on their top priority for installation. He couldn't give me a honest estimate, but he's looking at late summer, early fall to be able to put in the foundation and then have the structure set on top of it. Excuse me.
So, 139,450. This is going to be sited right behind the EMS station, alongside that access road, and we'll finalize that, but it's that area.
Yeah, that area. The company is requesting from us a relatively flat piece of property, which is no problem.
I think it fits the bill.
It fits the bill. I actually reached out and asked about the length of the bid. Yeah, if we were to find a location at Lyle Road, could we stick with this same price? And he said that he'd probably hold us to 6 months, and then we would have to reevaluate, based on cost of materials and stuff like that.
Well, I've got a new contact out there that going to try to at least swing the bat one more time, and we'll see what, because you're thinking the same thing I was thinking. If we could identify a spot that they would sign off on a permanent easement,
right.
This bid could go for a second one, and
hopefully not have to mobilize twice.
Yeah, but this would be 96 person, and it's a start, I think, and I think it's a very positive thing that we're going to do, and it gives people access to shelter, and tell me if I'm right, like it will not be dependent on a human being there to unlock the door.
Oh, it will be dependent on a human.
It will be?
In order to meet the EF 585 mile an hour wind qualification, it's got to be a manual throw latch. Basically, it's like closing a bank door where it locks on 3 sides. But with it being right next to EMS, I will do my best to have one of my people, but between EMS, Stamping Ground Fire, we should be able to guarantee somebody.
If we go into a situation where we have, tornado warnings or watches.
Yeah, as soon as we go into a watch situation, we would unlock it.
And we had EMS staff there to go ahead and unlock it and confirm that it's unlocked.
Right.
But we'll work all those details out. Is there a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion, but I would like to make a comment also.
Yes.
This is great news because next Wednesday is the 50th anniversary of the 1974 tornado in Stamping Ground. And we just had I think Ms. Duke called it a soft opening of a display that's going to be at the museum Wednesday night. If y'all get the chance, please go, because there's a lot of memorabilia up there,
I think this is timely.
This is great news for the folks at Stamping Ground.
We're installing this, and it's the 50th anniversary of that disaster. Motion and a second.
Is there going to be like any kind of indicator light or anything like that that could come on so that people would know that it's open, not just a Facebook post or Instagram post?
That's definitely doable.
Kind of like Krispy
Well,
hot and ready.
We retrofitted the lightning sirens with strobes and horns. We could definitely do the same thing. Just put a yellow strobe on each end of the structure, so that when the latch is open, the strobes would be working.
Great question. All right, so we have a motion. We have a second. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Road Department surplus, Mr. J.R. Brandenburg.
Can I say something real quick?
Well, yes.
I reached out to Mike to talk about FEMA and what triggers payments in the county for individuals or county and all that. And he provided me a wealth of information. It was very educational in understanding what triggers a disaster and everything since we're moving back into spring.
Thank you, Mike.
You've given me a lot of information.
JR, you want to talk about, you want to surplus two vehicles, a 08 Ford with 197.5,
It's a lot of rust, and
And-
2001 Chevrolet.
175. Motion?
Second.
Second.
Who's second?
Me. Let Dwayne have it.
Dwayne Ellison, second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Now, we would like to talk to you all about considering, JR's got several vehicles lined up that need to be surplus.
Yes.
The professional services of
McIntosh
Auctioneers. What is the proposal, JR?
Got about a dozen vehicles that I've acquired from, or held on to and put a list together from, fire, sheriff, EMA, ourself, and a lot of other good stuff, some Humvees we need to get rid of. And he's got a 10% live auction out to the on-road department, 10% fee for doing this. There's different ways, creative ways that they do stuff, buyer's premium, but strictly 10%, no buyer's premium. And I'd like to ask permission to go ahead and get him to move forward and start taking pictures and advertising and stuff.
And he would advertise it and.
Yes.
Is it gonna be online too?
No, he will put it on, his website.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not like an online auction?
No, it's not like an online. It's
He'll
gonna be
advertise.
The auction.
The motion is to engage Mr. McIntosh, Auctioneer Services, with a 10% fee for his professional services.
Does the 10% fee come from the county or?
From the buyer.
Yeah. Whoever buys it.
Like if
Yeah.
the car goes for $100, we're gonna
We
get
pay him.
90, he's gonna get 10.
Yeah.
Thank you. Got it.
Pretty simple, basic.
Motion.
Motion, second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Road Department purchase. We shared with you a request. Mr. Brandenburg's got these funds allocated already in this year's budget. Would you like to add anything, JR?
No, I talked to the treasurer and the illustrious treasurer.
It'll be a purchase of a 2024
Yes.
Chevrolet.
State contract pricing.
At state contract pricing. I'm trying to find that state contract pricing.
It's 53.
53,894.
Yes.
No, we don't need a motion.
To approve that purchase.
I don't think so.
Oh,
Since we already approved it in the budget.
Yeah.
You said you just wanted to.
Well, he did not.
It's in the budget.
It's in the
money
budget,
is.
but it was not designated as a vehicle purchase.
Yes.
He has extra.
Extra
But
money.
it's in his overall road
Right,
Yes.
budget,
so you
yeah.
just need to tell them that we're using the money
Yeah.
for that.
So we don't need a motion. We have notified you and. Yeah.
He's on road, right?
With that said, then, JR, move forward with that purchase.
And I might say in the upcoming next year's budget, the only thing that I've got in there is 2 dump trucks to push snow with that y'all gave me permission last fall to order because of the backlog of getting the trucks, and they're on order. They won't be here till late this fall. So,
appreciate that, JR. Thank you.
thank y'all.
And then, I have no new business. Any court member have any new business?
I do.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make a comment. I don't know if any of you guys got an opportunity to go to the sheriff's office or the detective, where the detectives are at the museum for that Apex Officer Simulator. So I saw where Kelly Kearney posted where she'd been down there on social media, and I wanted to go, and when I saw her post, so I called and I got in on that last day, the last hour, and turns out our Commonwealth attorney was there doing it at that time, and I got to tell you, that was a really neat experience.
Yeah, I did it as well.
Did you?
Yeah, several of it. Kelly, myself, and then a couple others, and Vinny and Ashley did it.
Well,
they like to. They put me in an interesting
they
situation.
Said some of
that's all I'll say.
Well, I'm not going to tell you the situations they put me in, but it was. I got to tell you, they said some of the judges have been down there. I really think it enhances our sheriff's department and the training that they get. But I mean, they suit you up and they put you in that scenario. I mean,
you feel that adrenaline, don't you? Yeah.
Almost immediately.
Yeah.
And I watched Sharon Muse and then another guy. Well, her husband was there, and they both did it before me. I just happened to show up and they were there, but I mean, it's an adrenaline rush. And I thought that was, in fact, I think even attorneys and that kind of thing ought to, it would enhance that whole community. I think they said several judges have been down there and as well. So, but I appreciate it. It was. And I'm sure they'll be doing it again. You get a chance, you ought to go. It's pretty intense. And then the other thing that I had was, and I don't know how this got off the radar, but it got off of mine. But that road that we dedicated to James Penny Way. So we got spring coming, and I know what happened. It was in that first full year of COVID, 21, is when we took that in, and I just thought we might bring that back up and maybe try to find an opportunity to do a little ribbon cutting and invite that family, the Penny family. I had kind of let it slip off my radar. So
Pleasure of the court. We'll certainly
try to do that.
Any other new business? John, can you give us any quick information about the engine and has it been picked up yet? And
it has not. Chief Baker got an email this morning, and their governing body approved it yesterday.
Okay,
so
it's all.
Yeah,
it's still the wheels are turning from Canada.
That's right.
All right.
Ryan and I are still available.
Yeah, we'll drive it up there.
There's no other new business
Lights and
from
sirens.
anyone. Mike.
Real quick. I'd like to request permission for out-of-state travel. Received full scholarship to the FEMA Region 4 and Georgia Emergency Management Conference in Savannah. So it'll be no cost to the county. Be 4 days from April 16th through 19th. Like I said, it only cost would be my time. So.
Any questions? Would there be a motion? Motion. Second. I think Mr. Livingston beat you, Mr. Jones. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Savannah, that's a pretty nice spot.
Yeah.
With that said, then we need to have a motion to go into executive session, KRS 61-810 1C. Does that cover the property acquisition?
Second. Who was first?
Property acquisition as well? Yeah. So this is for, hold up, everybody, hold up. This is for potential litigation and for potential property acquisition. So with that said, all those in favor? Aye. Out of closed session.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Coming out of closed session. Would there be a motion to authorize Judge Executive and Cam Culbertson to initiate a land exchange in support of the Legacy Trail project?
Motion.
Initiate a land.
Second.
A land exchange in support of the Legacy Trail project. Motion from Dwayne, second from David Livingston. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Is there any other business, or would be a motion to adjourn? Motion. Second. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Now, will somebody come up and turn off the screen?
Listen, I'll be around next week.
Last day.
Yeah, thank you, Chad.
We're watching it tomorrow.